Welcome to another day and a rare journey. My name is Elena, and I'm taking you on my journey overcoming my flaws to become fearless in the hopes that you would do the same. So, again, my main goal here with what I'm doing is, just being consistent, figuring out what it is that I'm going to be bringing to you on my channel is definitely going to always be about the journey of life, embracing that journey, walking through that journey, and just continuing to find purpose and becoming a better person, which should be everyone's goal, to be honest. And what better way to become a better version of yourself than to learn and to constantly be educating yourself? And what is the best way to do that? Reading books. So on Wednesdays, Wednesdays is going to be Word Wednesdays. So on Wednesdays, for now, what I'm going to be doing is talking about the current book that I'm reading. So again, every Monday through Friday is going to have a different theme. Monday is Movement Mondays, where I'm talking about my health and fitness journey. Tuesdays is Taking My Own Advice Tuesdays, where I'm telling you about different things that I'm doing, different advice that I've given to people that I'm now implementing into my own life or routine. And Wednesdays are going to be just going over the book that I'm reading. It could be a specific chapter. It could be, at the end, the overall synopsis. It could be an epiphany that the book has brought to me. It could be something that the book said that I'm implementing in my life. But overall, it's going to be about the current book that I'm reading. Because I do, as I read some good books. So what am I reading right now? Right now, what I'm reading, many people may have or may not, I'm reading the 5 love languages. So how it came about of me reading this book is that I was working with a life coach, and one of the assignments that she gave me was to fill out a questionnaire to figure out my love languages. And my love languages came up as quality time and acts of service. So I was just like, okay, I really don't know what that means, but okay, sure. So I continued working with her, and I was just glad to get this book. It's like, okay, what is this whole 5 love languages thing? I don't even really know if that's my love language, and if it is, what does that mean? I have no idea. So I got this book, actually, I want to say probably in October, because I got this book and another book before I went to Bali. And I read the other book first and didn't get around to this one. Time was passing, and I said, you know what? Since this has the theme of love, I'm going to read this for February. So started reading it, picked it up in February, and I'm going to be honest with you, I was just like, not feeling it. Why am I even reading this book? I'm not in a relationship. I don't have any relationships on the horizon. Why am I even reading this book right now? And I mentioned the fitness challenge that I was thinking about starting, 75 hardest. You have to read 10 pages a day. And I was just like, well, Elena, look, you said that you were going to read this book for the month of February. That's a problem that you have, is you start stuff and you don't finish with it. You don't stick with it. You just give up for whatever sort of excuse you can come up with. You said you was going to read the book 10 pages a day. It's not that hard. Just get the book done. Do it. And I'm so glad I gave myself that self-love, took my own advice, because this is actually a really good book. And honestly, I think everybody needs to read this book. Whether you're in a relationship or not, you need to read this book. And I'm going to tell you why. What he talks about a lot in this book is when you're in a relationship and you get past the in love feeling. So we all know the feelings when we first meet somebody. We're head over heels. They can do no wrong, butt don't stink, all of that. And then as time dwindles on, it's like, okay, you get on my nerves. That thing that I thought that was cute actually isn't. Now I'm realizing your breath stink a little bit. And how do I let you know? We start noticing all these little things that we ignored or didn't think were a big deal, because we still had the butterflies flowing. And what he talks about in this book is identifying what your partner's love language is, and also identifying what your love language is. So once the in love stage fades, which he approximates to be 2 years, you can continue to speak into and fill into your partner's love tank, so that you both can feel that reciprocal feeling of love in the relationship, instead of one person feeling like I'm giving it my all and I'm not getting anything in return, or the other person being like, she just doesn't understand me, he just doesn't understand me, she won't help me with anything, he doesn't. Instead of just having all of these complaints, figuring out like, okay, well, what says to you I love you, and what speaks to me and says, okay, when you do that, I know you love me, which for everybody is going to be different. So the 5 love languages that he's identified are words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. So I really like, I'm just going to jump to physical touch. I really like the physical touch chapter, because he talks a lot about, like most men out here, like you like ask a man like, what's your love language? They automatically jump to physical touch. And in the physical touch chapter, he talks a lot about the difference between intimacy and sex, and how like men are just wired for sex. Like they're just wired, like they're physically wired for sex. Like there's something to do with how their body produces semen, that they're just wired to have sex. Versus women, it's more of an emotional connection, and how a lot of men will just say, oh, their love language is physical touch, when really they're confusing the fact that, hey, I need to have sex, versus what actually says to me, you love me. Now, some people, their sex is a big part of love language for them. That's not a problem, but that was something that really stuck out to me. And the first love language that he talks about, which let me know to stay on this book, and like I said, even if it's for someone who's not in a relationship, was words of affirmation. And something he spoke about in the book, which I want to read a little bit about, is forgiveness and love. And forgiveness is something that I'm working on in this season of my life. I realize that there's many things that I've held myself hostage for, that I need to forgive myself from. And when he was talking about words of affirmation, and he began to talk about forgiveness, this is a passage that really stuck out to me in the book, and let me know, like, hey, even if you're not in a relationship, some of these tidbits you can take it for yourself and apply them to loving yourself. Because if you can't love yourself, your partner can't love you. If you're not happy with yourself, your partner can't make you happy. So I think a lot of us, we've grown up with these like fantasy ideas of relationship. And I know for me, when I go into my next relationship, like I know it's going to take work, and I actually want to build a relationship that can sustain hard times, a relationship that can sustain, anything, because we have built a foundation of trust and communication and constantly wanting to learn each other. But again, this is a passage on forgiveness that really stuck out to me. And he says, this book is written by Gary Chapman. Gary says, I choose to forgive. When you choose to forgive, intimacy can be restored. Forgiveness is a way of love. I am amazed by how many individuals mess up every new day with yesterday. They insist on bringing into today the failures of yesterday, and in doing so, they pollute a potentially wonderful present. I can't believe you did it. I don't think I'll ever forget it. You can't possibly know how much you hurt me. I don't know how you can sit there so smugly after you treated me that way. You ought to be crawling on your knees, begging me for forgiveness. I don't know if I can forgive you. Those are not words of love, but of bitterness and resentment and revenge. The best thing we can do with the failures of the past is to let them be history. Yes, it happened. Certainly it hurt, and it may still hurt. But he has acknowledged his failure and asked your forgiveness. We cannot erase the past, but we can accept it as history. We can choose to live today free from the failures of yesterday. Forgiveness is not a feeling, it's a commitment. Okay? It's a commitment. It is a choice to show mercy. not to hold the offense up against the offender. Forgiveness is an expression of love. I love you, Elena. I care about you, Elena. I choose to forgive you, Elena. Even though my feelings of hurt may linger, I will not allow what has happened to come between me and my future. And that's what I realized from this passage. Like, if I don't forgive myself, if I don't show that love, if I don't show that commitment every day to loving myself and saying, you know what, girl, yeah, you might have made some mistakes in the past. Yeah, you might have did X, Y, and Z, but guess what? You're worthy of love. You're worthy of forgiveness. You're worthy of moving on into the next. And that's what I learned from reading just a portion of this book, the 5 love languages. Okay? And that was from Words of Affirmation. So again, 5 love languages, words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, physical touch. And next week, I'll be done with the book, so I'll be doing an overall review. I'm also going to share a link where you'll be able to get it from my Amazon page. And if you've ever thought about reading it or you've heard about it, you know, I highly recommend giving it a try, especially if you're in a relationship. I know for me, whoever's my next guy, like, this is going to be a required read for us. Like, because I need to know, like, what's your love language and how am I going to keep you satisfied in this relationship? Because it's a real thing. So 5 love languages. Get it.